Watch and burn.
Hey everyone, so tonight I wanted to discuss the Dead Kennedys' first record. This is Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables. This came out back in 1980, and this was seriously underproduced by Dirk Dirksen. Now, Dirksen was a really good guy. They talk about him somewhat on the Dead Kennedys DVD Live on Broadway, which is on Broadway's last show. It was a club that the Dead Kennedys and a number of other punk bands from that era would play at regularly. And Dirk, I think he was the owner, if memory serves. And so he's done a lot for like the punk rock scene back then. And I think that's probably how he ended up producing this record for the Dead Kennedys. But I always found that Biafra as a producer was a thin sounding guy enough, but now that I'm thinking about it, all of the Dead Kennedy stuff, other than Plastic Surgery Disasters, sort of has this chronically underproduced quality to them that kind of hurt them somewhat, and they weren't really corrected until East Bay Ray got his hands on them after the remaining members of the Kennedys had won their lawsuit, and Biafra had to give up the rights for the Dead Kennedys music, and which allowed the guys and the rest of the guys in the band, to re-release them through Manifesto. And then they seemed to get a real boost production-wise, like the bass was chunkier, the drums were bigger, and they finally got that, like I said, the production that they deserved. But this record has to be one of the worst produced records I've ever heard. And I think that's probably what kneecaps this album the most. But at the same time, I will argue that I don't care how solid the production was. This is where the Dead Kennedys started, and that band, as far as I'm concerned, really only went up from here. Whereas a lot of punk bands, their first record is their absolute classic, maybe the one following, maybe perhaps their third one, and then after that it's usually downhill. But with the Kennedys, I found it was that everything went in the other direction, where the songs on here are good, but then through In God We Trust, through Plastic Surgery, and certainly through Frankenchrist, and then the seemingly really misunderstood and chronically disliked Bedtime for Democracy, but that's my favorite Dead Kennedys record, and I don't understand why people have such a problem with that. I love that album. I think every song on there is amazing, but I won't spend too much time talking about that now because I'll do its own review at some point. But yeah, with Fresh Fruit, I don't love the songs. I like the songs. I really, really like When You Get Drafted, and of course, Chemical Warfare's on here, Funland at the Beach, and then Kill the Poor, which was really well received by mostly everybody. I never loved the song. Their cover of Elvis's Viva Las Vegas is on here, another song that I don't really love. I did like how it was used at the end of Fear and Loathing, but I don't know. I think if I had to pick, Stealing People's Mail's on here. I love that song. So I would say that, When You Get Drafted, and Holiday in Cambodia, of course, would be my three favorite songs off here. And other than that, everything else just... Drug Me was pretty good, but it was too brief, and I felt like it was a little underdeveloped. I really like Chemical Warfare, but I hate that part near the end where everything breaks down, and it's a lot of coughing, which I get the joke, but I find that it really subtracts from the song and the energy and the impact it has, because then it has to, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they have to pick it up again. And I find that by then, like I said, some of the energy's lost. When I was a kid, I just cut that part out and just recorded it when it starts to break down back into the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the chorus a couple more times, and then it ends, because I really don't like how it devolves towards the end there. Again, that's probably just me, but maybe that's how I feel about this whole record. I don't know. I feel like this is a great place to start. It probably would have been received better had it sounded better, but it's like I said, it's a good place to start. I suppose the biggest thing that bothers me about this record, though, is every out of touch fucking dinosaur rock magazine, from Revolver to fucking Rolling Stone, have said that this is like their like definitive album. And I really think that that's because the jackass that wrote the article or compiled the list of punk albums has never really listened to a Dead Kennedys album. And maybe they've heard Holiday in Cambodia through Guitar Hero or some shit. Because had they listened to the rest of their releases, they certainly would not be so significantly picking Fresh Fruit time and time again. Because Plastic Surgery Disasters and Frankenchrist, I mean, definitely Frankenchrist, destroy this record in every way. This is a great place to start, but this band took their lyrical content, like Biafra's ability to tear into things using such wit and such satire, it only grew from this point. The lyrics on here, they're solid and they have a lot to offer, but they don't have a lot to offer when you compare them to, say, Chicken Conformist or Well-Paid Scientist or Moral Majority. These songs were the wordplay was so much more involving and they were so much more clever. And like, I mean, Saturday Night Holocaust, for example, off Gimme Convenience or Gimme Death, like his level of like satire and his ability to make words and twist them into things that they are and they aren't at the same time, and for him to speak them so effortlessly and so quickly and with such heart, I found a lot of that was missing here. I mean, really, if I had to pick a song on here that had a lot of that, it would definitely be Holiday in Cambodia, as well as Stealing People's Mail. But nonetheless, those songs are great, and they are. But, I mean, Trust Your Mechanic, or I Am the Owl, or This Could Be Anywhere. It's like their game just kept getting, where do you draw the line? There's another one. Like, their lyrical play just kept elevating and elevating. And so for all these like idiot magazines to always so consistently pick Fresh Fruit, it just doesn't make sense. And it's really telling, because I don't think this, like I said, the jackass that wrote these articles or compiled these lists has ever bothered to crawl out from under their fucking rock and actually listen to a Dead Kennedys album. And that's a shame, because Jello and company, they created some of the best music ever. And some of the smartest, most insightful and intelligent lyrics that have ever been penned. I mean, I think my favorite part about getting into the Dead Kennedys was how, when you do, it begs you to do research, because otherwise you're probably not going to fully understand what they're getting at. And the more and more of their lyrics you learn, you find yourself, you know, like, it's all brought to us play by Howard Cosell. You know, if you don't look into that, you're never going to know who Howard Cosell was. You know, he was a TV news anchor man who was a big deal way back when. But see what I mean? Like, there's things like that. I mean, I could argue the same thing about Bad Religion, too. Like, thank God when I was a kid, there was the Bad Religion lexicon. I don't know if it exists anymore. But otherwise, you wouldn't understand half of the words they used. You'd be having to carry a dictionary around with you. But that's a good thing, because it just increases your word power and your debating power and your ability to sort of look at things in a really unique way. And that's kind of what Fresh Fruit did, but at the same time, it didn't. It's a good place to start, but that's about it. And Dirksen really fucked up the production. So, look, I'm going to go. So thank you so much for sitting with me while I discuss the Dead Kennedys' debut album, Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables. If you like this review, of course, like usual, don't forget to do something nice for someone, because it's awesome. You guys kick ass, and I will see you really soon. Have a good night. I just wanted to say thank you for making it through the entire video. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to remind everyone one more time, even though I've probably already done this in the video that you just watched, to please click the like button as well as the subscribe button, because it helps this channel grow. And thank you for hitting like and subscribe, and we will see you guys really soon.